Welcome to 13 Degrees of Screams,
where we scream so you don't scream.
We're your host, Alex.
And Stephanie.
This week, we fix a broken crystal before three suns converge in the dark crystal.
Before we get started, make sure you subscribe and click the bell to be notified when we post new episodes.
The Dark Crystal is a 1982 dark fantasy film directed by Jim Henson and Frank Oz. The plot revolves around Jen and Kira, two gelflings on a quest to restore balance in the world of Thra and overthrow the evil ruling Skeksis by restoring the powerful broken crystal. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 78% with a critical consensus that states, "The Dark Crystal's narrative never quite lives up to the movie's visual splendor, but it remains an admirably inventive and uniquely intense entry in the Jim Henson canon." It also has an 81% audience score.
1,000 years ago, on the dying planet of Thra, a powerful crystal shattered. The split created two new races, the ruthless Skeksis, who use the crystal's power to prolong their lives. Really? Is that what's going on?
Ew, no, David.
And the peaceful mystics, also called Uru, who live quietly in the Hidden Valley.
Among the mystics is Jen, a young gelfling who was adopted after the Skeksis wiped out his clan. As a rare cosmic event called the Great Conjunction draws near, Jen's dying master tells him he must fulfill a prophecy, to heal the crystal by finding and replacing a missing shard. If Jen fails before the three suns align, the Skeksis will rule the planet forever. Oh boy, old people must leave the prophetic messages to their deathbed because they don't want to answer follow-up questions.
After the master dies, coinciding with the Skeksis' emperor's death, a brutal power struggle erupts. A Skeksis general and chamberlain fight to take over as emperor, and the general wins in a test of strength and banishes him. Upon learning about Jen, the Skeksis send the monstrous Gartham to hunt him down, while the exiled chamberlain secretly follows. I'm sure the Gartham are aware he's following them. This guy is not subtle.
Per his master's instructions, Jen finds Agra, a wise astronomer, and selects the correct shard using his flute. But before she can explain more, the Gartham attack, kidnapping her while Jen escapes. Feeling the crystal's pull, the mystics begin a journey to the Skeksis' castle. All ready for moving day, I guess.
Here we go! Pivot! 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 Pivot!
On his way, Jen meets Kira, a fellow gelfling raised by podlings. They dream fast and share memories, quickly forming a bond.
Let's play a game, all right? On the count of three, name your favorite dinosaur. Don't even think about it. Just name it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Velociraptor.
What? Did we just become best friends?
Yeah.
They rest at her podling village, but it's soon raided. They escape with Kira's furry companion Fizzgig thanks to Chamberlain's interference.
The two discover ruins of an ancient gelfling city where a prophecy is carved. When single shines the triple sun, what was sundered and undone shall be whole, the two made one, by gelfling hand or else by none.
Jen realizes his mission is to bring the shard to the castle. Was that not clear? Yeah, you have to go where the crystal is.
But it's becoming increasingly obvious. I can deny it no longer. I am small.
The Chamberlain tries to gain their trust, but they flee again, this time riding giant landstriders. They attack the Gartham to save captured podlings, but are cornered. Kira reveals wings and glides into the castle's moat with Jen and Fizzgig. What a weird time to reveal you have wings and never refer to them again.
It never happened. We made this one up.
Inside, the Skeksis scientist draws essence from the podlings using the crystal. The Emperor drinks it, but the effects are short-lived. When the Chamberlain attacks again, Jen stabs him in the hand with a shard, and a mystic far away is wounded in the same moment. Enraged, the Chamberlain traps Jen in a cave and delivers Kira to the Skeksis as a gift so he can return from exile.
Kira is prepared for essence extraction, but Agra, still alive, urges her to summon captive animals.
SpongeBob Jungle Pants summon animal friends.
They break loose and destroy the lab, killing the scientist, and a mystic disappears simultaneously elsewhere. Meanwhile, Jen awakens and climbs back up to find Kira.
The two gelflings reach the main hall as the Skeksis begin their ceremony. When spotted, the Skeksis release the Gartham. Jen jumps to the crystal but drops the shard. Kira retrieves it and throws it to him, but is fatally stabbed by the High Priest.
At that moment, the triple suns align. Jen drives the shard into the crystal, releasing a powerful burst of light. The Gartham disintegrate, draining podlings are restored, and the castle's dark shell falls away to reveal its shining crystal form. The mystics arrive and each merges with the Skeksis, forming glowing angelic beings called Urskeks. Their leader explains that they shattered themselves in the crystal long ago, disrupting the world's harmony. They thank Jen by reviving Kira and rise into the sky, leaving the crystal shining brightly over a renewed Thra.
Are you ready to talk about our ratings?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, what did you have for plot?
I gave plot a 1. I said an overall unique plot with dark fantasy elements. However, I think it really suffered with how slow the characters moved. Even with the stakes seeming so incredibly high, there never seemed to be any urgency, which made everything feel less important. How about you?
I give it a 0, actually. I said the plot and genre are more fantasy than horror. However, the dark elements do have some horror elements. The dark fantasy feels more of an aesthetic consideration as opposed to a plot device, but there are a few scary parts for younger viewers. But ultimately, I give it 0. To me, it's fantasy.
Yeah,
Period.
I think maybe we just saw it at the wrong time. It just didn't hit for us. Like we were talking before we recorded, neither of us had seen this going in.
Mhm.
So, but we had heard people had mentioned it was, scary as children. And we were like, oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's always on a list of like really creepy, scary movies for kids. And I could see that for a kid, for a
Yeah.
child. And I know a lot of it has to do with like the uncanny valleyness of like the puppets. But I didn't find them that like off-putting or weird, to be honest.
Yeah,
I was like,
a
okay.
few times like they turned and they showed a face. Like when they first showed Jen, I was like, oh, disturbing. Like it wasn't like, oh, terror, but I was like, oh, why
Yeah.
would you do that? Like
It's unsettling,
Mm,
not scary.
yes.
Like that's the best way to kind of describe this movie in a nutshell for me. Is like things are just a little off.
Yeah.
Just like not quite there, not quite natural, but not quite scary. So it's just in this like weird middle ground.
Right.
I
Agreed.
wasn't like scared from it.
No. What did you have for suspense?
Suspense, I gave it a 1. I said, as this is a kid's movie, there isn't a ton of suspense that a child couldn't handle. Jen's time limit to achieve his goal is a little suspenseful, but he doesn't ever seem to be in a huge rush.
Yeah. I gave it a 0, and it was along that line. Jen's journey to heal the crystal isn't all that suspenseful. He spends a lot of time contemplating his next move and never seems really worried about the mission at hand. The only part I found worrying was the attempted stealing of Kira's essence, but apparently it's reversible, so not too bad.
Yeah, right? I mean, okay, we'll just put it back. Put that
Yeah.
thing back where it came from, or so help me.
Sounds like a nice break, honestly. Just like turn off for a little bit.
I know, right? Can I go on the essence stealing machine for a couple minutes? Like, I
Yeah,
just need to
just-
not think for the next
Yeah.
little bit.
Just
And
like a
then-
half hour of no thoughts would be great, I think.
And when we talked about the plot, when it's like, oh, we have to take it to the castle, we're like, yeah.
Where did you think it was?
Like, did he not know it was at the castle? 'Cause was
I
very
didn't even think he
confused.
knew that he had to combine it with the bigger crystal. I think he was just like, so now I have this shard of crystal because my master told me come and find the shard of crystal. And
Okay.
I don't know. I think that's why he was taking so long. He didn't know, but I was like, we all know.
Right. I was just confused. And then also, like, when the crab things, whatever the hell those were called, Garthen, it's like,
Yes.
take him to the castle. And they're like, no, don't take us to the castle. I'm like,
Where we need to
That-
go. Like,
that's where you need to go.
Right.
Like, granted, you'd be captured, so maybe that's
Mhm.
like not the best way to get there. But
I
Express Pass-
almost put that. I was like, why wouldn't you go with the people that want to take you there? Like, but I guess it's a difference of sneaking in somewhere and being a captive. you know?
Right.
You
Yeah.
don't have as much control in that situation.
Yeah. It's like, what's worse? Okay. So, like, if you're captured, you get there quickly, but you're captured. The other way, getting there's going to suck, but then you kind of sneak in. So, like, what's the pros and cons of each?
Right. I think Jen needed some time management, so I think he probably should have agreed to being captured.
Right? Just a free ride.
Right.
What did you have for atmosphere?
I gave it a 2. I said the atmosphere feels like the creepiest aspect with this movie. All the characters are startling, to say the least, and the gloomy alien environment is incredibly dense and detailed. However, I didn't give it the full 3 because I found the setting a little cluttered and hard to read. I think it's because it's so much of like the unknown and other. You're like, what am I looking at? Like,
Yeah.
and then creatures will pop up and you're like, what is this? What is this thing?
What am I looking at?
How about you?
I just gave it a 1. I said, as I mentioned with the plot, the darker setting and atmosphere is where the movie really shines from a horror aspect. The dreary forests, villages, and castles really add to the atmosphere. But I find it cool, not scary. Like, I really like it aesthetically,
Right.
but I don't find it scary. Kind of a
Exactly.
thing. Have you ever seen those? It's AI, so I don't condone it necessarily. But they're like the If X Was a Dark Fantasy show. Have you ever seen those edits?
Oh, yeah. Or like when they combine a character into like 2 characters into one or something like that. I've seen that kind of stuff to make like a different aesthetic.
Oh, yeah. So like I watch those all the time, and this movie looks just like those.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I'm like, this is where they got it from. So
I
Well,
kind of
definitely-
think of it as like Star Wars meets Muppets in a way.
yeah, kind of. I could kind of definitely see that.
Yeah.
It's dark and dreary and gloomy and spooky, but not altogether scary.
Yeah.
It's kind of just how I feel about it.
Agreed. I mean, it's definitely for kids. The more I watched it, I was like, oh, and this is an hour and a half. Okay. Like,
Did you think it should be shorter?
I think they could have, like, if they would have, like, cut down on the travel time and, like, stopped showing, like, every aspect where they were like, it's him, get him. And then they all, like, just waddle. Like,
Waddle.
to running to get
Yeah.
them, then maybe we could have cut down, like, at least 20 minutes.
It was funny because Nick watched this with me, and there was that scene of the Mystics, like, literally inch by inch moving across. I'm like, it's gonna take them 5 years to get to this fucking castle. They have 3
That's why
days.
they have to go. There was
They are
no time.
literally like so slow. I'm like,
Yes.
come on.
To the point where, like, when they lost a member, like, when the scientist dies on the Skeksis side, and then the Mystic, that's, I guess, like, his other half, vanishes, they look back and they're like, where's Bob? Oh, okay, no more Bob. Like,
Yeah, they're just like, huh. Anyways. That's literally what it felt like.
yes. What did you have for the villain?
I gave it a 1. I said the Skeksis are disturbing and creepy. However, this is not specific to them, as most of the characters and creatures are in this movie. I don't find them particularly scary and somewhat goofy through their characterization. They steal people's essence to become younger again, which is a scary element, but they send out the crab like Gartham to do most of the dirty work.
Agreed. I gave the villain a 1. I said the Skeksis are gross looking and definitely nightmare fuel for a small child, but they don't really do much. They are evil in a child sense by stealing essence to make themselves younger. So that reads very Snow White to me.
Yeah.
Have minions for their every need and are very slow to react to any trouble. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then when the Chamberlain is kind of stripped of his robes and stuff, they look so frail.
Yes.
Like, their clothes are what make them look bigger, and then he's like just like little naked bird looking thing. I'm like, what is happening?
Also, I think it just comes down to how hard it is to read like these characters and like what they are in comparison to like when one ends and where another begins. Like when they all attacked him, I was like, are they cannibalizing him? Is that what's dark about this? Like, I was like, oh, he's naked.
He's a naked boy.
He's naked and he has to go now.
Yeah. I mean, the puppets and the costume work is like really amazing, but it is a lot to the eye. You're just like,
Yeah.
what is happening? Have you ever seen that image of like, this is what it's like to have a stroke? Have you ever seen that before?
I think so.
And it's like
yeah.
vague things of like what you recognize.
Blotches of color get grouped together. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that scene was like. It's just like a cacophony of random shit thrown together. But yeah, they're the Gartham are probably scarier than the Skeksis, I would say.
Really? Okay. I
Just
still
from a
thought the
menacing...
Skeksis were just like weird looking,
Yeah.
but I think when they're eating dinner, that's a little weird too. Like they're like killing live bugs and stuff, and they're like crunchy, like
This is kind of gross.
yeah. Otherwise, I'm just like, oh, Okay. Also, it's very strange that like they combine with, the good guys. So it's like, I feel like they couldn't make them that evil either. Like they couldn't make them be like the worst. I know stealing people's youth is not the greatest, but
Yeah.
but I feel like they couldn't allow them to be bad because they were the counterparts of the Mystics. So and then eventually they're going to combine and I don't know, make the world good again.
Right. I was actually going to ask you about your thoughts on that because, like, to me, it was just they split between like good and evil kind of a situation.
Yeah.
And then as far as like destroying the evil, it was just put the shard in the crystal and then we're good to go. Like,
Right.
why did we take this long to do that? Like, we could have just probably wrapped this up sooner than like, oh, by the way, this needs to be done in the next 3 days. I'm like,
I guess because the Skeksis didn't want it. Because I think when the crystal shattered or not shattered or broke or whatever you want to say, whenever they lost the part of it, they split into like parts that were peaceful and parts that were corrupted. So like the corrupted part, they want to go on being corrupted. So
yeah, I was talking more of the mystic side. Like, you could have wrapped this up a while ago. Like, you didn't.
They
have
also
to
should have
wait.
told Jen before the master died. Like,
That's what
by
I'm
the way,
saying,
you're
yeah.
going to have this important thing to do. When the time comes, you'll know. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know. I think it had to do with the sun. It had to be in line with the prophecy. I think they should have just, stuck it in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it said you had to do it before that happened. You could have done this years ago.
Yeah.
You could have wrapped this up.
It's been 1,000 years.
Right. And it's just, I wish I knew just more overall about the Skeksis and like, yeah, you guys split, but why? Like,
yeah.
what's the deeper lore here? But I know it's a
Right.
kid's movie and it's more like, it's just like a fairy tale where you just kind of accept like this is the world and this is what happened. But
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to know more.
Right. Like, I need to know, like, why did they split in half? And I was like, okay, so when they were going to fight for who's emperor, I was like, well, they can't kill each other off because there's only 10 of them. There's only 10 of them each.
Right.
So they can't get rid of one of them and be down a number. And then they just banish him. And I'm like, that doesn't seem great either. They
Right.
should have just been like, you don't get to be emperor.
Yeah.
Please stay.
And this is kind of a messed up thought, but if like you realize if you're not going to make it to the crystal in time
hmm
and you don't want them to take over, you could just kill the mystics and then that would kill them too.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly. Well, since Jen was raised by the Mystics, they probably left that part out. They were like, "Oh, don't tell him anything about how we're connected and how he could really just solve this whole problem if he took us out."
He just like first 5 minutes, he's like, or we cannot. And he just slaughters them in their sleep. That's a real dark crystal.
With his
That's like,
blank stare, like
he's like, I don't want to walk all the way over there.
I don't even know where the castle is. Look at
Yeah. Do I look like the type who wants to be doing this? I mean, as we find out, Jen's not a real like quick.
He's not a
moving
go-getter.
individual.
Even when he was supposed to put the shard in the crystal, he was like, "Kira, you are dead." Like, but you're on top of the crystal with the shard. Just, put it in. That's what everyone's waiting for.
Yeah, just slide it in there. You don't need permission.
Then you could be
put it in.
sad.
Yeah, then you can be sad. Like, let's finish this. Come on. Yeah. So the Skeksis are just more silly, in my opinion, than scary. But again, kids movie, asterisk.
Right. Yeah, no offense to anyone that enjoyed it as a kid. I don't know if I would recommend a rewatch, but if you really did love it, then, to each their own. But...
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, to be clear, I did like this.
Oh, really?
I know you briefly mentioned before we recorded that you were like not
a fan.
Not a fan. No, I enjoyed it. I thought it was like, again, I don't think I'd make it a yearly watch, but I enjoyed it for what it was. Like, I'm sure if I watched this as a child, this would be like, I love the Dark Crystal. I could for sure see myself loving this movie, but just the age difference is just probably why I'm not like in love with it, but I really did enjoy it.
No, okay. I mean, to be fair, I do like other Jim Henson stuff. Like, I like Muppet Christmas Carol and the other movies I've seen with them. It's just not this one. And I feel like there's other like dark children's media that I've gravitated a little bit more towards than this in comparison.
Agreed. Did you give it your extra special point?
I didn't, just because of what I had just said too. Like, I just feel like there was other stuff that that I felt more connected to than this. And it could also just because, I'm a 30-year-old something. So, and this is probably for like 6 to 8.
Yeah, we're not the age demographic here by any means.
No. How about you?
Yeah, I didn't give it my point as well. Again, mostly not to inflate it because I don't find it scary. Even though I did enjoy it, and if I was a kid, I could definitely see myself liking it. But yeah, just not my go-to.
Just to be clear, though, this did come from a recommendation from one of our friends on TikTok. Try it out, TJ, and we do appreciate the recommendation. And, if you want us to watch anything else, let us know.
Yeah, always. Give us those recs. We're always looking for those. So
yeah, of course.
After totaling up the scores, I gave it a 3 and you give it a 4.
Sounds right.
We're in line.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show and listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, giving us a 5-star rating is super helpful and we always appreciate it. If you're watching the YouTube version, you could like a comment on this video and let us know what you'd like us to cover next.
You can find us on social media using 13 Degrees of Screams.
This has been 13 Degrees of Screams, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.